Okay, here we go again. This is take 3 on skirmish training. Okay, trying to make a better video than the previous ones. So first, I want to start by explaining dice. So let's pull up a little character sheet here. These are the symbols that you're going to find on the dice that you roll. This one circle here is a success. This one that has 3 things moving around in a circle is an explosive success, meaning that it gets to keep itself plus roll again to add other symbols along with it. This little explodey thing, all the things are coming out away from the center, is an opportunity, and this, to me, it looks like a fire symbol. I don't know what it's supposed to be, is strife. Strife represents the stress that your character builds up. Okay. Whoops, I didn't actually want to close that. Okay, so the next thing we want to talk about are the stances, the conflict stances. And these don't only have to do with skirmishes, they also even have to do with intrigue. So we're not going to worry about the descriptions of them right now. So your Earth stance, when other characters make an attack action or a scheme action against you, they cannot spend opportunity to inflict critical strikes or conditions on you. So your Earth stance is defensive. It stops your opponent from being able to trigger opportunity to do mean stuff to you. There are still some things you can do, but Water stance. During your turn, you may perform one additional action that does not require a check. This action cannot share a type with another action that you perform this turn. We'll talk about action types in a moment. Your fire stance. When you succeed on a check, you count as having one additional bonus success for each strife symbol on your kept dice. So take note, you have to succeed on the check already. If you succeed on the check, then your strife count towards extra successes on that check. They still count as strife. They count as extra successes, but you have to succeed without them. Air stance increases the TN, which is the target number. That's how many successes you need to pass a roll. Increase the TN of the attack and scheme action checks targeting you by 1. As if your school is higher, it's more. So that is another defensive stance. So both earth and air are defensive stances. And then void, none of my guys in this skirmish are going to use the void stance, but you do not receive strife when you roll the strife symbols on your kept dice. You can still receive strife from other sources. Okay, so we can close that. Now I want to talk about action types, which is page 252. No, it's not. Here, action types. So we have attack action types, movement action types, scheme action types, and support action types. We're not going to do any scheme action types in this skirmish. I might end up doing a support action type, but I kind of doubt it, maybe. So mostly we're going to be doing attack and movement. And in fact, we're mostly just going to be doing attack action types. So those are our action types. Let's move on to the initiative roll itself. So we need to scroll down to where you talk about skirmishes. Here, skirmishes. So the initiative for a skirmish is based off tactics. Is a TN1 tactics check. So let's pull up character sheet for our hero, Okoto Ginsei. He is facing these 3 bandits. Open character sheet. Open character sheet. Why are you broken? Close, let's do it again. Are you doing it? Stupid computer. There we go. Hurry up. Hurry up. You are wasting seconds of everybody's life. Okay. So we can see the stats here on Ginsei. He has 2, 2, 2, 3, 1. So other than Void being his sucky one, it is also for these bandits. He has a 3 in water and a 2 in air, earth, and fire. Now, for his initiative, he's going to be rolling tactics, which you notice he actually has a 3 in. This is his best skill. So he's good at making an initiative roll. But he needs to choose which ring to use, and the ring that you choose for your initiative roll will be the stance that you are in until you have your first turn. So he has the opportunity here. He can choose to do earth or air stance, which are both defensive. Air would make it harder to hit him. Earth would make it harder for them to do weird shit to him. Or he could be in the water stance where he actually gets a whole better roll. So what does he want to do? Does he want to try and go first? Or does he want to be defensive in case he doesn't go first? I think he's going to want to try and go first. So we're going to make the tactics roll off of water, which will put him in the water ring. And you click on this little die button here, and it will roll. And it should roll 3 black ring dice, and it should roll 3 white skill dice. Let's go over here. I said let's come over here. What are you doing? All right, there we go. Let's pull his character sheet back up. So I'm back where I was. That was from last time and my fail. Okay, so this is what he rolled. 3 black dice and 3 white dice, just like he was supposed to. Now you can only keep of the dice that you rolled a number of dice equal to your ring value. So usually that's going to be the number of dice that you rolled black dice of, because those are your ring dice. So he can keep 3 dice. This one is a success. That's pretty good. He'll keep that. This one is a success with a strife. And this one is an exploding success with a strife. So he will keep, he's going to keep all 3 successes. This one, and this one, and this one. And we're going to roll ring dice. Click on that. And we only need to reroll 1. And this gets added in addition because he kept the exploding die. So it gives him an additional opportunity. So he has 1, 2, 3 successes, 2 strife, and an opportunity. So one of the basic things you can do with opportunity is remove strife from the same roll. So we're going to use this opportunity to remove one of the strife. So he's going to take 1 strife. I already gave it to him because I got this far last time before I turned it off. So he has 1 strife and 1, 2, 3 successes. Now if we go back and look at his character sheet, those successes add to his focus value. So he has an initiative rating of 4 plus 3 is 7. So we pull out our initiative chart. We right click on the token, click on add turn, and then we change him to a 7. Did you do it? 7. Okay. And we also want to set his stance. So I have the stances set here. Red will represent fire, blue will represent water, green will represent air, brown will represent earth, and purple can represent void. So we're putting him in the water stance because he wanted to attempt to go first, knowing that this stance isn't as defensive. Now, all of these minions, they don't actually make a roll. They just use their straight focus. Minion level enemies, they don't need to make a roll. So they all have an initiative value of 4. So we just right click on them and I click on add turn, right click, add turn, right click, add turn, and we're going to change these all to 4s. 4, 4, 4. Okay, now, even though they didn't make a roll, they still need to choose what stance they're in. We're going to put this top guy in fire stance because we want to use different stances. Fire stance is not a very good choice for him to be in. We're going to put this guy in earth stance. You know, it's a defensive stance, so that's a good choice to be in. And we're going to put this guy in air stance. Now, if you, I don't think I showed you guys that these bandits all have basically the same ring value and everything. 2, 2, 2, 2, and 1 in void. So there was no benefit to this guy starting in fire stance. He didn't get an extra die like I did for starting in water. He should have just started in one of the defensive stances. And since he didn't, and I'm going first, I'm going to attempt to kill him because he's not in a defensive stance. All right, so we did initiative. Now I want to talk about the strike action. So if we scroll down here, well, these are the different actions that you can do during skirmish. Assist is, help your friend kick somebody's ass or whatever. Calming breath is a support action. Remember, there were 4 different types of actions. There were attack, movement, scheming, and support. So this is a support action, and you can take a deep breath to calm yourself. If your strife is greater than half your composure, then you can remove a strife. And if your fatigue is greater than half your endurance, you can remove a fatigue. Notice that there's no roll involved in here. So back there where we were looking at the stances, the water stance gives you an extra action, but that action can't be the same type, and it can't require a roll. So if you're going to make an attack action, you can use your bonus water stance action to do calming breath, and also where's movement maneuver. You can use it as a maneuver. So here we have choose a stance. Let's see. Whenever you take an action, you do get a movement. We're going to talk about range bands in a moment, but you do get a 1 movement of range band. You can do it either before or after you take your action. Maneuver gives you another one. And if you chose, optionally, you may choose to do a TN2 fitness check, and then you'll move 2 plus an additional 1 for every 2 bonus successes that you have. So you can use that if you're in that water stance, and say you make an attack with your primary action, then the bonus action that you get from water stance can be a maneuver, but it can't be because you can't make a roll with it. It can't be the bigger part, but it can be move 1 additional range band. So if you're in water stance, you can be moving 2 range bands instead of just 1, and we're going to go over that because I'm going to do that. Okay. And then the strike action is the main action that we're going to be taking during this skirmish. You make an attack against a single foe. As an attack action, using 1 readied weapon, you may make a TN2 martial arts check using the appropriate skill, like melee for the katana, and it'll also be melee for the spears that they're using. And if you succeed, you deal physical damage to the target equal to the weapon's base damage plus your bonus successes. So if you roll 3 successes, then it's going to be the base damage plus 1 success, because you got 1 success more than the target number value. If you get two opportunity, you can inflict a critical strike on your target with severity equal to your weapon's deadliness. So hopefully we get the opportunity to go over that. All right, so we went over our strike action. So next we want to take our turn. Let's come in here. Oh, I have never gone over all the little notes that I have, so let's do that. So Akodo Ginsei has a composure level of 10 and an endurance level of 6. So his composure of 10 means that he can take 10 stress, 10 strife before he is, I don't know what the word for it is, but maxed out on composure. And he already has the 1. Remember, he took 1 strife from the initiative roll that he made. And endurance is basically how much damage you can take before you start getting beat up. We'll go over that in a little bit more. But you can see his composure is much higher than his endurance. Now, the bandits have a composure value of 6 and an endurance value of 5. Now, Ginsei is going to be using a katana with a 2-handed grip. It has a range value of 1. We'll talk about range in just a moment. Damage value of 4, deadliness value of 7, and it is razor edged. A razor edged means that he can spend an opportunity to raise the deadliness on the katana. For every opportunity that he spends, he can raise it by 1. And he is wearing Ashigaru armor for a physical resistance of 3. You'll see how that works. The bandits are using a spear, a yari. It is range 2, so it has a range superiority over the katana. And that's the primary reason you use a spear. And it has a damage level of 5, which is higher than the katana's damage. But it has a deadliness of only 3, which is much lower than the deadliness value of the katana. And of course, it's not razor edged. And they are wearing thick clothes as armor for a physical resistance of only 2 as compared to his 3. Okay, so I mean, it already is, but we're going to tell it to go descending. and Akoto Gensei will go first. So we are going to start this as if all three of them are surrounding him and they are all at range 2 because, you know, they like jumped out of a tree and they're holding him back at spear range as this fight starts. So he needs to close, right? Because his katana has a range of 1. But remember, you get a bonus 1. Well, let's go talk about range bands real quick while I'm here. I think I pretty much just explained it on accident, but here. The range bands. So a range band of 0 means that you guys are right in each other's face. You can use knives, but for the most part, this is a touching and grappling situation. You can't use a sword. Sword is too big in range 0. Range 1 is sword distance. Range 2 is spear distance. It's roughly 3 to 4 yards away. Range 3 is throwing things at people distance. Range 4 is bow distance. Range 5 is a volley distance. And range 6 is as far as you can see. So you can change the range band. Now there are rules to turn it into a map and stuff. We're going to try not to do that. There may be some situations where we're dealing with enough guys that maybe we'll want to play it tactically. But we're going to try and do everything in theater of mind. So that's what we're going to do here. So he is surrounded, and they are all range 2 surrounding him, if you want to imagine it that way. Now he's going to advance 1 range band towards the red guy. That's going to keep him still in range 2 against these guys because every expanding range band is bigger and bigger and bigger. So he's going to advance on that guy into range stance of 1. And that makes it so that he can hit him with his sword. So now he wants to choose what stance he wants to be in. He's going to stay in water stance. And I'll explain that why. But he is choosing to attack the guy that is in fire stance because he's not in any defensive stance. And if he intends to fight in fire stance, which he most likely is, it's probably a good thing to remove him because fire stance is the most dangerous to face. Okay, so we're going to keep him in water stance and we're going to make a martial arts melee representing his katana. And we want to change it to water. So it will roll 3 water dice and 2 skill dice. And we just click this and it'll do it nice and easy. Close this. And we rolled our 5 dice. And we can keep only 3 of them. So this one is an exploding with a strife. This one is a success. This one is a success with a strife. This is just an opportunity. And this is another exploding with a strife. So I can keep 3. I need to have, if we remember, the strike. Let's go back up so I can show you again. It's here. Strike is a TN2 martial arts check. So he needs to get 2 successes to hit. Every additional success raises the damage. So we need 2 successes. What do you think is the best 3 dice to keep from here? Keeping in mind that I'm not that worried about strife because I have 10, but I sure don't really want to take all 3. So I'm thinking I'm going to take the 1 and then these 2. The 2 exploding with the 2 strife and the 1. So I have 3 successes already and 2 strife, and I need to re-roll or roll an additional. It's not a re-roll, it's an additional black and white die. So let's pull up Gensei and click on here. And we're going to roll how many dice? 1. And then we want to do the same thing for white dice. 1. And these are in addition. So they are already being kept because I kept the exploding dice. So I had 3 successes already and 2 strife. And then we get an opportunity and another strife and an exploding success and another strife. So we are looking already at 1, 2, 3, 4 strife gained. But I re-roll. Well, it's not a re-roll. It's an additional roll. Another white die because another white die exploded. Oh, I mean, we actually want to roll it off of Gensei's page. Not that it really matters. 1. And it's another opportunity. So, once again, we kept these 3 dice. So we have 1 success, 2 success, 3 success, and 2 strife. 3 success, 3 strife, and an opportunity. 4 successes, 4 strife. 4 successes, 4 strife, and 2 opportunity. Now, opportunity have multiple ways that they can be used. The easiest way to use them, as we talked about earlier, you can use them straight to remove the strife. So I can use both of these 2 opportunity to remove 2 of the 4 strife I'm about to take. Do I think that's a good idea? Do I think I'll be able to do him 5? He has 5 endurance. So I think I'll be able to do him 5 damage. Let's count it again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 successes. We only need 2, so we have a bonus of 2. So our weapon has a damage of 4. With that bonus of 2 is 6. And his armor removes 2. So he will be taking 4 damage. 4 fatigue of his 5. So it's not going to put him out. So instead, do I want to spend my 2 opportunity to cause a critical strike? If you remember on the strike page, 2 opportunity, you can inflict a critical strike. And a critical strike, I'm still going to make the roll, but a critical strike against a minion automatically removes them. But I'm going to make the roll anyway. So, but that's what we're going to do. So I am getting 1, 2, 3, 4 strife. So that takes my strife up to 5. And I am already at half of my composure. It's a good thing that I have really high composure. Okay, so the damage goes like I said. We had 1, 2, 3, 4 successes. So that is 2 successes extra than the TN2 we needed to hit him. So that adds those 2 successes to the damage value of the katana, which makes it 6. He has a physical resistance of 2, so he takes 4 fatigue. Now, I want to explain what this is because it is actually quite different, and I like it, other than the fact that fights kind of take a while to get figured out. Let's go to harm and healing here. When a character is in peril of suffering bodily harm, like he just was, this is represented through damage. Damage is a numerical abstraction of the harm a character could suffer from a blow, a fall, or a mishap if they cannot defend themselves. When an effect states that it deals damage to a character, there are 3 possible outcomes. The character reduces the damage to 0 with armor or some similar protection. He reduced it by 2, but he didn't reduce it to 0. The character defends against that damage by receiving fatigue equal to any remaining damage, and this causes a block or a dodge or a deflect. And if the character does not reduce the damage to 0 or defend, then they suffer a critical strike. So he is going to defend. Generally speaking, you have to defend. So that's up here. Defending is not normally optional. Instinctive reactions cause a character to duck, dodge, or roll away from harm. But a character who is not incapacitated may spend 1 void point to voluntarily suffer a critical strike instead of defending. Usually you do this because defending is going to take you above your endurance level. So you think that you might be able to win the fight if you accept the critical strike instead of becoming exhausted. Instead of, I'm using the term exhausted because I'm explaining what it is, but they actually use the term incapacitated. Okay, so that's where we are. I did him that, and now, since I did those 2 opportunity, I can cause him a critical strike. So now let's take a look at the critical strike chart. That's just down here, not very far. Here's your critical strike. So we look at the critical strike has a severity value which is dictated by the method by which it was inflicted. When a character suffers a critical strike after failing to defend against damage, that's not the situation here. He did defend against damage. The severity, the deadliness of the whip. So a strike causes the opportunity from the strike. I don't need to scroll up there and look at it. It causes a severity equal to the deadliness of the weapon. So the deadliness of a katana in 2 hands is 7. It is razor edged. I can spend opportunity to raise the deadliness, but I used both of my opportunity just to cause the critical strike, so I don't have any extra. So I am causing a deadliness 7. That would be permanent injury. But he gets a chance to reduce it. He has a TN1 fitness check to mitigate its effects using a ring of their choice in a narrative scene. Or this isn't a narrative scene, so the ring of their stance in a conflict scene. So he is going to make a fire and fitness check to resistance. And his fitness is a martial skill, so he just rolls that, and I click on that button, and then I select that he's using fire, because that is the stance that he is in. He doesn't have a choice. They're all the same anyway. And he has these dice rolled, and he can keep 2 of them because he has a fire rating of 2. He has 1 success and an exploding success with a strife that he will keep. So we need to roll that exploding ring die, exploding black die. 1. Which is another success. So he has 1, 2, 3 successes and 1 strife. So he takes that strife. It doesn't matter because he's being removed, but just to show you how everything works, he takes that strife, and then we have 3 successes to reduce the severity of my critical strike, which was deadliness 7. So he changes it from 7 to 4. So instead of taking a permanent injury, because he did so well on his fitness check, he's going to take a flesh wound. The hit sinks into the character's flesh, slicing shallowly or creating a vicious contusion. The character suffers the lightly wounded condition for the ring that they used to make the check. If the attack had the razor edge quality, the character also suffers the bleeding condition, and mine does have the razor edge. So he is now lightly wounded and bleeding. So we can just scroll down here and see what they do. Bleeding, when a bleeding character makes a check, they suffer physical damage equal to the strife symbols on their kept dice, ignoring their resistances. So that's pretty horrible. And what was the other thing? Lightly wounded. Is that under wounded or here, lightly wounded? 1 ring. A lightly wounded character increases the TN, the target number, of their checks made with the affected ring by 1. So he took a wound to his arm or his leg, something that makes it so that while he is still in fire stance, he gets a penalty of needing 1 extra TN to everything he rolls. So he probably doesn't want to stay in fire stance anymore. But since he's a minion, we remove him anyway. If he takes any kind of critical strike, he's removed. We just went over it all just to show critical strikes. Okay, and then I mark this little thing to show that Gensei's turn is over. Well, he's in water stance, so he still has his bonus water. So he was going to use that to change the range band from 1 to 0 on this guy if this guy didn't die. He moves up like right in his face into punching distance. This guy would then not be able to hit him with the spear, which is range 2, without changing to water stance, because or not attacking, because you only get a range band move of 1. So he could push me away, or back himself off back to a sword distance, back to range 1, but his spear attack, so he would not have been able to hit me. And that's what being in water stance was able to do for me. Now, since these range bands are expanding, every range band is a bigger and bigger piece, I think these guys are still in 2. At the most, they're in 3, and they can take a step forward to be in 2 anyway. So I did not get away from them as I closed the distance onto this guy. All right, so now we have this guy here who is in Earth stance, he is going to attack me. Do we want to stay in Earth stance? Or do we want to move into another stance? Earth stance makes it so that you can't spend opportunities to critical strike, which is how I just removed his friend. So I think he's going to stay in Earth stance because he just saw how horrible it was to not be in Earth stance, right? So he's going to make his strike. Maybe he spends his range movement to move from 3 to 2, but honestly I think that they're still in 2 because moving from 1 to 0 is only a movement of like 2 feet, 3 feet. It's not very much. So as I closed in on that guy, it didn't really take me outside of spear range for them. Oh, I'm on the wrong guy. So bandit, and he is going to make a martial roll from his Earth stance because he's in Earth stance. You choose your stance, and then any roll that you make will be with that ring. And he rolls these, and he can keep 2 because he has an Earth ring of 2. So this is an exploding die with a strife, and this is a success with a strife, and you need 2 successes on strike. It has TN2 to hit. So he could keep this one and the opportunity and hope that this rolls a success with its exploding. But he should probably just go ahead and take the 2 now to make sure that he hits. So he's going to have 2 strife and 2 success and 1 extra black die. So we pull him back up and we roll his 1 extra ring die. 1. And it gives him an opportunity and a strife. Not particularly that great. And I need to look up to see if maybe if you have to take this because maybe you don't want that opportunity if it comes with a strife. I'm not sure. But he's going to take it. He doesn't care. Though I don't know what he'll do with the opportunity. I guess an opportunity cancels a strife, so I guess we'll take it and then use it to cancel. So he's got 2 successes and 2 strife from what he kept. So we're going to mark his 2 strife. And his 2 successes on his strike is a hit, but it doesn't guarantee him any extra damage. So it is damage 5, and then I have a physical resistance of 3. So I remove that damage from 5 to 2, and I have to spend 2 fatigue to avoid that damage. And that is 2 of my 6 endurance. And that, that's it. That's it for him. And then this guy. Can I remove this dude by like double clicking it or something? Or right clicking? I guess not. Maybe I can right click on him and because there was a add turn, maybe there's a remove turn. Well, I can't see it from there. Let's do it from down here. Nope, it's just add turn. There's no remove, so I guess he just stays. Okay, so this guy is in air stance. Air stance makes it harder to hit him. Seeing as how his friend is dead, he's probably going to stay in air stance, but he doesn't have to. He could change if he wanted to. So he's going to stay in air stance, and he's going to attack me with his spear. So we come over here. I mean, well, this would just be me. You guys would never do, but you can see how the NPC character sheet works. Just click on that, and then I select that he's doing it with air, and I submit it, and he will have 2 black dice and 1 white die, right? And he gets to keep 2 dice because his ring value is 2. But he doesn't have a whole lot of choice. So he's going to keep this exploding die with the strife. And he's going to miss if that exploding die doesn't give him another success. So we roll 1 ring die. And it is not a success. It is an opportunity. He can use this opportunity to cancel the strife. That's what he's going to do. So all he does is have 1 success, not hit me, and cancel his own strife. And that's it. He just had a pretty failed turn. That's all. And then the dead guy would go. He doesn't get a turn. Now it's round 2. Ginsei can change his stance again. Maybe he wants to change his stance to air now to try and make it so he doesn't get hit again. Well, I'm using terms get hit in because that's the kind of role-playing terms that we're used to. But by being in air stance, he can make it so it's harder for them to cause damage that he would have to spend fatigue to avoid, because that's what it is. This red bar, his endurance, is not damage. It is fatigue that you spend to avoid damage. When you can no longer defend this way, you get critical struck when they hit you. And then that can cause, like you saw, wounds, and you can like lose an arm, you can get killed, all of that. So let's I'm gonna well, they're in 2. Honestly, they should have used their bonus movement on their range band to move back to 3 to try and stay out of my thing. But we're going to say they weren't smart enough to do that. So they're in 2. So I can move up forward 1. I'm going to move up on this green, on this dude who's in the green, the air stance. So he's 2 away from me. I use the 1 from my, you just get 1 to make myself in sword stance. And then I'll use my 1 from being in water stance. Well, from doing strike. Then I'll use my 1 from being in water stance to close to 0, which will make it so he won't be able to hit me the same way that I had planned with that guy. But since he's in air stance, it raises the TN to hit him, and I'm going to need 3 successes instead of 2. That is a very big deal, as you've been seeing. So we change. No, I'm doing it in water still. So everything is still set. But I need 3 successes. And I rolled 1 success. That's not enough. And I don't have any explodings. I do get to keep 3 dice. I'm going to keep all 3 of these that have opportunity on them. And I'll show you why. I have striking as water. While making a martial arts water attack, you can spend opportunity to treat target's physical resistance as 1 point less. Only it's supposed to be until until the end of my next turn. So it would count for this attack, and it will also count for the next one. So I'm going to remove his armor completely, actually. I'll use 2 of the 3 of them to remove his armor to 0. So next turn, I can hit him a lot harder. And then, I guess with my other opportunity, I do something stupid with it. It doesn't matter. I like learn one of his disadvantages or, something. And then with my bonus movement with my bonus action from being in water stance, I choose maneuver and I move right up into his face, into range band 0. And since we're in range band 0 and he only gets a movement of 1 range band to move himself into 1, he will not be able to strike me with his spear at range 2. He'll have to move to water stance if he wants to hit me. Okay, so that was my turn. Next we have this earth dude. He's going to attempt to hit me. Everything is still exactly the same for him as it was last time. He wants to make an earth roll. And he needs a TN of 2. Strike is TN 2. Opportunity is strife, and an exploding success. But he's going to take the exploding success for sure. And he really doesn't need those. He'll take it because if for some reason he ends up with an extra opportunity, he can do a critical strike on me. If he'll need another success, and if he also gets an opportunity with it, then he can do this. So he's going to keep one of these and that one. So we need to not re-roll, but roll an extra white die, skill die. 1. I wish it didn't ask and it would just roll. And he gets a success. So he has 2 successes, which is what he needs to hit me, and he has 1 opportunity and 1 strife. He'll just use the opportunity to cancel the strife. So he has 2 successes. He hits me. It is damage 5. He doesn't get any bonus from higher than the TN that he needed from extra successes. So damage 5 minus my 3 is 2. And it costs me 2 fatigue to avoid this blow. And I go up to 4. And I am now really tired. 4 of my 6. And that's it for that guy. And then this guy, who I am in range band 0, if you remember. I moved up right into his face to try to make it so that he can't get me with his spear. So he has a choice. He can, he won't be able to attack me with his spear unless he switches to water stance, because water stance gives him the bonus action he can use for 1 range band movement to take me back to 2. The 1 that he gets for normal takes me from 0 to 1, and then the 1 from the water stance can take him from 1 to 2. Or he could just do a maneuver and attempt to get farther away from me. He could switch to water stance, use 1 action to draw his knife, and then attack me with the knife. I didn't put a knife in here, but it did say that he's got a knife, and you can attack with a knife in range 0. That, again, would meaning water stance, and water stance would allow him to attack with the spear, and the spear is so much better than the knife that would be stupid. So, that's what he's going to end up doing, is changing himself to water stance out of his protective stance, which is really bad news for him because he doesn't even have any armor right now. And he's going to attack me from water. He moves with the one, with the 1 range band movement that everybody gets. He moves from 0 to 1, and then he uses the bonus action from water to move from 1 to 2, and then he attacks me. And we roll here. And he is in water now, not air. It's all the same, but and he has the 2 successes that he needs. He has, and he can only keep 2 dice, so these are the 2 he keeps. And he needs to roll a new white die. These guys are getting a lot of exploding dice. There's only one head, 1 face of exploding dice on both of these. Or I guess there's 2. There's only 1 on the black one. I guess there's 2 on this one. But you got another one, so he has to do it again. That sucks. One. So moving into water stance and taking his steps back to hit me was a really good idea. So he has 1 success, 2 success, 3 success, 4 successes, and he is taking 1 strife, 2 strife, 3 strife. So first we'll mark his strife. And how many successes was it? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 successes. He needed 2 to hit me, so he has 2 bonus successes that add on to his damage. So he is hitting me with damage 7. I remove 3, so that's damage 4. If I were to defend this blow, it would take me beyond my endurance. My endurance is 6, and I have 4 fatigue right now. So if I take this other 4 fatigue, it will put me beyond my endurance, and I will be incapacitated. I will be unable to defend myself, and they will be able to kill me at will and take all my stuff, which is what their plan was. There is an option, and I believe I showed it to you already, but I'm going to go and show it one more time. Let's scroll up here to the critical severities. Maybe it's not there. Here. Defending is not normally optional. Instinctive reactions cause a character to duck, dodge, or roll away from harm. But a character who is not incapacitated may spend 1 void point to voluntarily suffer a critical strike instead of defending. By overcoming their survival instinct with sheer willpower, they allow themselves to be struck to seize a tactical advantage. So I'm going to do that. I spend my void point, which I think will be the 3rd bar. We'll use subtract void points, but I don't have it set up. So I use my void point to take the critical strike instead of using the last of my endurance and then being so exhausted that I can't defend myself. And I'm hoping that his spear, with a low deadliness of 3, won't do very much harm to me. So it has a deadliness of 3. So it's up here. And we go and look at that critical severity chart. Deadliness of 3, or it translates into severity of 3, is a flesh wound. But I get my TN1 fitness check to try and reduce it, and I do that from the stance that I'm in. You can't choose another stance, and I'm in water stance, so I do fitness, water, and I have a rank of 1, so it's going to roll 3 black dice and 1 white die. And hopefully, I didn't do very well. I get to keep 3 dice. You keep the success for sure, and I keep this opportunity, and I don't know what I'm going to do with it. And I keep some blank die. So I remove it. I reduce it by 1. It was a TN1 check to reduce it by 1. Mitigates its effects of the ring choice or the okay. If the character succeeds, they reduce the severity by 1 plus their bonus successes. So I reduce it by 1. It was a 3 or was it 4? It was 3. So I reduce it to 2, which is the lower level, which is close call. The hit slices the character's hair or clothes, but fails to draw blood. If the character is wearing armor, the armor gains the damaged quality. I could look it up on page 240, but damaged armor means that it has 2 less resistance on it. So my armor is now only 1 resistance. Let's freehand. And change that. Oh, there, we did it. 1. That works. I was just scratching it out. That works. Okay, so he broke my armor. That's what happened. He broke my... I decided that I didn't want to defend it because defending it would have exhausted me, and instead he broke my armor. And that's it for that guy. And then this guy's already dead. And then it's my turn, and it is round 3. Now, again, I have a choice. Do I want to enter air stance to make it more difficult for them to hit me? Air stance will reduce, not only does it give me a less die, but it gives me a less kept die. I'm keeping 3 dice because I'm using water where I'm good at it. Only keeping 2 dice doesn't make me very much better than these guys. But it'll be harder for them to hit me, and hitting me, I don't have another void point. If they hit me again, unless it's for only 1, which isn't going to be very likely with my armor being broke, I'm going to be incapacitated, too exhausted to defend myself. And I can't take out both of them. So I guess I have to do it. I'm going to switch to air stance. So I click this to take it off, and click this to put it on. Now, he moved himself to 2, so we're 2 range bands apart. I get my range band movement of 1 before I act, before or after you act. So I do it before I act, and then I go over it. I'm range band 1, and I will attack him with my katana. And that is martial arts, and we change it to air. I am no longer in water stance. So I will roll 2 black dice and 2 white dice. Now here we go. And I can only keep 2 dice. I got successes all over the place, so that's good. So this is a success and a strife. This is an opportunity and a success, and this is a success. Well, I'm not going to keep the strife if I can keep the opportunity. So I'm going to take these 2. I only need two because he's not in air stance anymore. He's in water stance. I did that to him when I closed the distance, so that's a. So I have two successes and one opportunity. I don't know what I do with that opportunity. Oh, I can striking his water. So just in case he doesn't die. I mean, I have to hit him for 5. Just in case he doesn't die, I'm not going to hit him for 5. I only have damage 4. And I only kept 2 dice. So, yeah. So I use my opportunity to reduce his armor by 1 for next turn. Remember, this turn he has 0 armor. We reduced it by 2 last turn. So, 2 successes. And with that 2 successes is what I needed to hit him, so I don't get any bonus. I do damage 4, and he has no armor because I striking his water to him last time for 2. So he spends 4 of his 5 endurance. He takes 4 fatigue to avoid my blow. And that's it. That's all I could do. I was not able to remove him, and now I'm in a lot of trouble, but at least I'm in air stance. So this dude in earth stance is going to try and strike me. He needs 3 successes, not 2, because I'm in air stance. So that's really good because they only keep 2 dice. So that's a really, really good chance. He's going to need an exploder. And instead, all he got is 2 opportunity. Well, I don't know what he does with 2 opportunity. I don't think he does anything. So he's done. And then this dude, he can come out of his water stance now. He doesn't need it. But you know what he's going to do? He's going to stay in water stance. And we'll do the other thing. Okay, so he's going to attack me with his spear. He needs 3, just as that other guy did. Bandit. But he's going into water. Again, I mean, it doesn't really matter for these guys. They all have 2. But it will matter for you. You know. Oh, crap. And of course, he keeps the 2 exploding dice. So I need to... He killed me. We keep one of these. And, I mean, well, they have to roll a success. If they don't, it did. If they didn't roll a success, then he wouldn't get me. And then, air stance was not enough. And that's another one. So he's getting me pretty good. Okay, so what he ended up with is this. He kept these 2 dice, and then that adds these and that and that. So he has 1, 2, 3, 4 successes and 2 strife. So his 2 strife takes him to 5 of 6. He didn't even lose his composure during this battle. And his 1, 2, 3, 4 successes is 1 higher than he needed to hit me. He needed TN 3 because I'm in air stance. So he takes that 1 extra success and adds it to the damage. That's damage 6. My armor now only blocks 1 of it. So I take 5. So I raise my fatigue from 4 to 9. It took me 5 fatigue to avoid this blow. And I don't have another void point to take the critical strike instead of the fatigue. So now that my fatigue is higher than my endurance, I become incapacitated. And there should be a button we could use for incapacitated. That one? Now, also on his turn, because he's in water stance. If we go back, he's going to do that. What's up here? Calming breath. During a conflict, you may inhale deeply before exhaling, drawing upon your inner strength as a support action. Remember, he can't do another action type with the bonus action from water. So this is a support, and the other one was an attack. You may take a deep breath to calm yourself and recover stamina. If your strife is greater than half your composure, remove one strife. And if your fatigue is greater than half your endurance, remove one fatigue. They are both greater than half. So he loses a fatigue and he loses a strife, and he was able to do this as a bonus for being in water stance. I think one of them didn't happen, but whatever. And then, of course, his turn is over. That guy's dead. It's my turn. The only thing I can do as my action is what he just did. And I reduce is the calming breath. I reduce my fatigue. Now I am at 8 of 6, which still doesn't wake me up. Well, it didn't do it. 8. And do I recover my strife? Was it higher than half or at half? Greater than half. So I don't recover the strife because I'm at 5 of 10. So that is all I was able to do with my turn. If we scroll down here and take a look at incapacitated. Okay, the character is largely incapable of action due to the scope of the harm they have suffered. Well, I mean, it's not the harm, it's the exhaustion. I'm going to change that. An incapacitated character cannot perform actions that require checks and cannot defend against damage. So the only action that I can take is that healing. If I can use my action for the maneuver, for the movement, but I can't do the part where I make the fitness check to move faster. So I could move one. Since am I in water stance still? No, I'm in air stance. If I was in water stance, then I could do both maneuver and the healing, the calming breath, because because they're not the same type and neither of them have a role involved. But I stay in air stance. I'm still somewhat defending myself, and in air stance, they need 3 successes to hit me still. So I am hoping that they don't hit me. If they hit me while I'm, I didn't finish reading that. While I am incapacitated, then I become unconscious. After an incapacitated character suffers a critical strike, they suffer the unconscious condition. So cannot perform. Yeah. So I will be critical struck if they hit me, and I will also go unconscious. And unconscious means that they could rob me. That I absolutely can't do anything about it. They rob me, and if they want to kill me, the next critical strike will have plus 10 deadliness, will have plus 10 severity. So I'll be at their mercy whether they want to kill me or not. But right now, I am only incapacitated. I'm not unconscious, and since I'm in air stance, they need 3 successes to hit me. So we're not over. So this is turn 4. This guy in his earth stance needs to hit me. He needs 3. He's using earth. He needs 3 successes. If he gets them, he causes a critical strike, and I go unconscious. He only got 2, and he got 2 strife. 2 is not enough because I'm in air stance. You know what? And since 2 isn't enough, he's going to choose to take the white one. I need to look up and see if you have to take dice. Because, if you don't have to take ice, then he doesn't have to take these strifes. So I'll look that up when I'm finished. So either way, if he has to take dice, he'll take the blank die and he'll take the 1 success, because the difference between 1 success and 2 success when you need 3 successes is nothing. So he either, takes no dice, or he takes 1 success and 1 strife and a nothing instead of, taking 2 strife. So we'll do that. We'll take 1 strife, but I think he probably doesn't even have to take that die, but I will look it up. And that's it for his turn. And then this dude who messed me up last time, he's not even. Oh, yeah, he's in water stance. So he'll do everything exactly the same as last time. He's going to attempt to kill me from his water stance, and he's also going to do his breathing thing. Boom. Submit. 1 and a strife. An opportunity and a strife. And I guess he will take the opportunity because if he gets another opportunity with 2 more successes, it'll allow. Well, he's already got critical strike on me already if he hits me, but it would allow him to take 2 critical strikes on me, which will suck. But mostly he needs to get 2 more successes. But anyway, he keeps both of those, and he's going to roll another black die. And if that black die is not exploding, he doesn't hit me because he's only at 1 success and he needs 3. So he needs this to be an exploding so that he can try for that 3rd one. And it is. So then he rolls it again, and if it is a success, he hits me. And he will do a critical strike, and he will make me unconscious. And it is a success. So he does take a fuck ton of strife. 1, 2, 3, 4. He didn't get another opportunity, so he doesn't really need. He'll use 1 opportunity to stop 1 strife, so he takes 3 strife. So his strife goes higher than his composure. What this means is that he can no longer keep dice that have strife on them. Notice how all of these dice have strife on them. Next time, he will not be able to keep them. Not absolutely. He absolutely cannot. That's what the only way to fix that is to unmask yourself, where you lose your composure, you roar at the enemy, you go into a blind rage, something like that. You lose your composure. And, this could be an honor setback to you. It'll have some kind of a penalty. But what these guys' main penalty is that if they choose to unmask, their unmasking is that they're gonna run away. So he's not gonna unmask. He's just gonna, he doesn't need to anyway because he hit me. He had 1, 2, 3 successes. Hits me because he needed 3 because of the air stance. So he is doing a deadliness 3 critical strike to me. I do, even though I'm not unconscious yet, but even though I am incapacitated, and even if I was unconscious, I do still get the fitness roll to reduce that. It's up here. So it is a 3. And I make the fitness roll from the ring I'm in, which is air, fitness, air. And I am attempting to remove as much of that severity as possible. And I did not get a success. So he hits me with the 3. 3 is a flesh wound. So he gives me a flesh wound. I am now lightly wounded in my air ring. Character suffers lightly wounded condition for the ring that they use. That's -1 in all air rings. And if it was a razor-edged weapon, I would be bleeding. Okay. And but since he did hit me, he did cause a critical strike while I was unconscious, or while I was incapacitated. I am now unconscious, and unconscious allows them to, take all my stuff and kill me if they want to. It's up to them if they kill me or not. If they attempt to kill, I mean, in real life, I think they could just kill you. I'm not going to make a stupid roll out of it, but the way the game actually works is that they have to make a roll out of it. In fact, they still have to hit me, and then it adds 10. So there's with a 3, so it would be a 13. They would cause agonizing death. The character suffers the severely wounded condition for the ring that they use for their check to resist, as well as the bleeding and dying conditions. And in 3 rounds, I'll be dead. Okay, so these 3 bandits win. One of them is really tired, And the other guy, and this guy's dead, but they win. They beat these 3 little bandits, beat a rank 1 Lion Bushi. Now, what we want to talk about is making a grittier game. You see how weak Deadliness 3 is. All it really did was break my armor. And Deadliness 7, I don't even remember what it did to him. Lightly wounded, something. For a grittier game, we would raise the deadliness of every weapon by 4. So that katana blow that I did to this guy, instead of being a 7, would have been an 11. It would have been a maiming blow. The character suffers the bleeding condition, then chooses one of the following scar disadvantages for the ring they chose. So he was in fire, so he would have a lost arm or a lost hand. And then right now, I took a 3, so it would have been a 7. And if they don't kill me, I get a permanent injury. The character suffers the bleeding condition. They choose one scar of the following disadvantages. I was in air stance, so I get a maimed visage or nerve damage permanently. So that's the question. Do we want to play a grittier game where combat is much more dangerous and these weapons, like in the case of the spear, actually makes it dangerous? Because a Deadliness 3 was really not that dangerous, but maybe it should be. I like the idea of adding 4 deadliness, but it's something we can discuss. Okay, that's it. Thank you for watching. How long was this stupid video? It was still way longer than I wanted it to be, but we're done.